Welcome to the Prophecy Club. Our topic today is some new information on the dollar going down and digital currency coming up. Now, before I get started, let me just say something. I love you guys. I appreciate you so much. And I know that you look at the views, it's not going so good for Prophecy Club. But as you recall, I've said many times, June 27th, 2008, this was the same night that God said, Stan, I will give you the money to drill the well in Israel. Now, I cannot guarantee where we're going to get the money to drill for oil in Israel, but that same night, he showed me Leslie standing in front of her fireplace, holding up various newspapers. The headlines showed, and they were the headlines right out of her prophecy. And he said, when those prophecies start coming to pass that I gave your wife, people from all directions will begin to turn and listen to your ministry. One day, we will see millions of people turn and listen to this message. Right now, they don't agree with it. They don't see this coming. And of course, that's why God is sending the message to warn them. There's a great revival coming. There's going to be a time when you and I are in sports stadiums. There'll be a time when we need people there. Everything from helping with the doors, the tables, praying for people, seating people. And you obviously will be one of the first ones we will email and say, would you like to be a part? So just want to let you know, those days are coming. While we want the revival, we want the souls, we want the miracles, we don't want the judgment that's going to bring them. But unfortunately, it's a two-sided coin. But now today, I want to bring to you some new information regarding the fall of the dollar and the rising of a digital currency. All of this tells us that we are in the last days. These last days are getting very, very close. Okay, so we're going to start with this little warning here. And that is, we've lost all three of our sponsors, actually, but this gold and silver sponsor we just lost, and we don't know the whole story on it. All I know is they aren't our sponsor anymore. So if you're thinking about getting gold and silver, and I can't give financial advice, but if you could hold off a few days, and matter of fact, if you have someone that you think would make a good gold and silver sponsor for us, please email their information to us. But if you could hold off a few days, that would be good, as that is a major thing that helps us keep going here at the Prophecy Club. Speaking of that, it's tough. So if God has blessed you and you can help us now, it'd be a really good time. Okay, so digital currency is a must. It must come. How do we know that? Because no one can buy or sell, say he had the mark of the name of the beast or the number of the name. That can't happen with physical coins or paper. It's got to be digital so that they could get between the buyer and the seller and stop that buying and selling. Now, this is new information. SEC could deliver two major decisions on August 14th. I'm recording this August 13th. So by the time you're watching this, it will probably be the day or the day after this has already taken place. So it says the United States SEC, that's the Security and Exchange Commission, is set for an open meeting on August the 14th to consider whether to issue a release proposing new rules, here it is, to create a tailored offering regime for certain investment contracts involving crypto assets. In other words, a digital currency. Now, I was explaining this to my wife, and I'm not giving numbers, and I'm not really, a financial person. I'm a prophecy guy. But the way I explained it to her, this might not be totally accurate, it's kind of like putting a boat in the water. Well, that was the first executive order, and that was the Genius Act, putting the boat in the water. But the Clarity Act is like putting a motor on it so that it can move, so it has rules, and so it knows what to do and not to do. People won't get thrown in jail and things like that. Now, continue with the article. So it says tokenization. What is tokenization? That's everything. That's everything. Everything from every little pen, everything we have will be digitized. In other words, it'll move from a dollar value, like say a pen is say $1.19 or like that. It'll be given a digital code, and that digital code is what you buy and sell with. That's tokenization, or you could call it the starting of a new digital currency. So tokenization is the process of using blockchain technology to convert real-world assets such as stocks, treasuries, real estate, cars, houses, everything else, into a digital representation. Tokenization not only digitizes stocks, but also makes them fractional and asset available 24/7 trading. In other words, you'll be able to buy and sell with your cell phone or this, I'm going to get to it here in just a second, this new device about the size and appears like a cell phone, only it's not a cell phone. It is what you buy and sell with. That makes sense, doesn't it? If the plan is implemented, it means traders would be able to buy and sell tokenized versions of equities belonging to public companies like Apple and everything else, okay? So in summary, Congress finally set up a real date to vote for the Clarity Act, September the 15th. But the problem is the SEC decided, no, we don't want to wait until September the 15th. Okay, so what does that mean? It means that some people in high places are pushing this, and they're going to get what they want. That means we're soon to get a digital currency. You got to read between the lines. So the SEC decided it would act before Congress to take its own vote in the next 48 hours, probably by the time you're watching this, either today or yesterday. In 48 hours, meaning August the 14th of 2026. Right now, America has no clear rule book for cryptocurrency. The Clarity Act is supposed to be that rule book, or the motor, okay? The Clarity Act will put every single coin and project into two categories. One, overseen by the SEC, and two, overseen by the SEC FTC. Because Congress is taking so long with constant delays, the SEC decided to make its own rule book. So on August 14th, they're taking their own vote. Now, this will be a temporary arrangement, but a start. The Congress passing the Clarity Act will be the permanent one. In other words, people in high places are putting pressure on the Congress to get this done. Furthermore, what may happen in the next few days will possibly be the forerunner to the Clarity Act Congress will later pass. The SEC voting may force Congress to complete passage of the Clarity Act. I think that's what they're doing. They want to see both the Democrats and the Republicans pass the Clarity Act. Now, the Clarity Act may be the most pivotal change in American finance in hundreds, I'm going to even say thousands of years, because it'll be the first time on the planet since at least the flood that we've had a digitized global currency. And it's happening right before our eyes in our lifetime, or it is all part of the end-time plan to monitor every financial transaction so that no one can buy or sell save he had the mark of the name of the beast. You remember this scripture, no man might buy or sell save he had the mark. In case you're not familiar with it, pause and read it. This is what we believe the mark of the beast will look like. This is what we believe the number of his name will look like. So it may not look exactly like that, probably won't have a snake's head and tail, but it'll be, you'll recognize it when you see it. Now, matter of fact, if you see this here, right there, look to behind me. You see that, I think it's on this side over here. There's a swirl within those letters. There's a swirl on that currency behind me. You have to look close for it. Let's go on. And you remember the scripture says, by the sword shalt thou live. So I looked up, how many flags have swords on them? Out of the some 200 some odd nations, 5 of them actually have swords on them. And by the way, they're all Muslim nations. So here it is, the scripture, as you can see in the center, by the sword thou shalt live. Well, that's what Iran is doing right now. They're threatening. If you don't give us what we want, we're going to blow up this, or we're going to blow up this, or we're going to attack you. So either you give us what we want, or we're going to punch you in the nose. That's living by the sword. Now, the new article says the UAE, the government jets, are now carrying cash and gold into Iran. So, big deal. What does that mean? I think that they're trying to help Iran because right now the U.S. Treasury and the dollar is being cut off, and one of the ways Trump is squeezing Iran is taking away their finances So the other Arab nations around them are sending the gold and the cash. Now, what does that mean? That means that the other nations, the other Arab nations, the other ones that worship Allah, just like they do in Iran, are not actually for America. They're actually for Iran or the God of Iran, Allah. What does that mean? It may mean that they are willing to go to the BRICS. It may mean that they will start selling oil for gold to go around the dollar, which we know from the prophecies is what kills the dollar. Meaning, this could be a whole lot closer to what we think. The article says jets from the government of the UAE have been making brief trips to Iran airport, arriving, spending about an hour on the ground, then taking off again, meaning plane loads of cash and gold. Intel indicates these planes have been carrying cash money, gold bullion to Iran. Does that sound like what we've been watching for, where they start selling oil for gold? It does to me. It sounds to me like gold and cash money it's an interim step going digital. The plane below is said to have transported 1.5 tons of gold. Let me read that again. 1.5 tons of gold, or about $200 million worth. Well, what is that? Well, I think it's 2 million barrels per one of those big oil tankers. So is that about $2 million for a tanker? Yeah. Okay. Now, I don't think that the UAE is buying the gold or the oil. They got plenty of oil themselves. But it may be another country that is buying it, or simply helping Iran at this point simply because they both worship the same God. Let's go on to the article. It continues. It is not clear if the United States approved this, although it seems likely it would had to have approved it before the UAE would do any such a thing like releasing gold and currency. Unless, of course, the Persian Gulf Persian Gulf countries have realized the United States is never going to approve and have decided to do it anyway to save their own economic lives. Now, look at paragraph number 2. Look at that. Is that not saying that the Allah-worshiping countries around Iran are really more for Allah-worshiping countries and really not on the side of America? And does that mean that they may here soon start selling their oil for gold, crashing the dollar? Could it be that we're on the precipice of seeing the dollar die, seeing them start going around the dollar? There's more. It is economically essential to countries like the UAE to get the Strait of Hormuz open and get the oil flowing again. Okay, that's no surprise. Without the vast revenues from oil and gas, we know that they're going to go bankrupt. But if the UAE did this with U.S. permission, that's proof the U.S. realizes it cannot resolve the problem, the Iran conflict, and it can't make the Allah-worshipping nations around it do what the United States wants them to do. May mean what we're about to see. It may mean that we're about to see these nations selling oil for gold, just like Shane Warren was told. But if the UAE did this on its own, then the entire U.S. sanctions regime is beginning to collapse, i.e. the dollar is beginning to collapse, as countries act in their own interest as opposed to doing what the U.S. wants them to do. So here's the update. As of 10:30, I can now confirm that the UAE has released several $1 billion of Iran's frozen assets held in UAE banks, including 2 tons of gold. Okay, 2 tons of gold. What's a ton? Well, a normal ton or a normal pallet is 4 by 4 by 4. But gold is so heavy, 2 tons of gold is about, if I'm saying this right, I think I am, it's a 2 foot by 2 foot by 4 foot. In other words, it's about half of a pallet load. But it's 2 tons. That's a lot of gold. Worth $283 million, with the goal being that Iran spares the UAE from future attacks. What is that? That's living by the sword. According to the multiple sources, the assets were flown into Iran on this kind of a jet. It leaves it there. On June 8th, the same plane flew from Abu Dhabi to Tehran's, meaning Abu Dhabi is probably also sending them gold and cash. Are we seeing, here's the question, are we seeing oil starting to be sold for gold? Kind of under the table, kind of behind our back? Could it be that's exactly what's happening? It could very well be. Now let's talk about the Clarity Act. Could the Clarity Act, we just talked about that, be the last stone paving the way to a digital currency? See, if you look at it, two things are happening. The dollar is dying, the digital assets are rising. Or I should say it this way. The dollar is dying because the other nations are starting to sell oil in gold. The dollar dying brings on a digital currency. You see this? In other words, I can see this prophecy getting very, very, very close. Remember, Kissinger said, who controls the food supply controls people. Who controls energy can control whole continents, but who controls the digital money can control the world. But it's got to be digital. You can't control it. You remember that this is from Daniel, by peace he shall destroy many. So that's what we're trying to get right now in the Middle East, was peace. But could it be that it's about to destroy many? The Iran conflict, in my opinion, does not appear to be anywhere near concluded. Could it be that at the end of this Iran conflict, lots of things happen, like Israel is split, and it gives the Palestinians a state in return for the Palestinians agreeing to give the Jews access to the Temple Mount. Then they start animal sacrifice for the first time in almost 2,000 years, which is right in line with the Antichrist coming along and stopping Antichrist, or the sacrifice. New article. Israel ties Lebanon withdrawal to Hezbollah disarmament. Well, it's not just Hezbollah. They've also said they're not going to withdraw from Gaza until Hezbollah and Hamas lay down their weapons. Well, that's a reasonable request, but that's not what a nation that worships Allah, who lives by the sword, they're not going to give up the sword. So all of this is saying we're probably not looking at any lasting peace in the Middle East anytime soon, though we'd like to see it. Next article, Iran says it will soon join BRICS development. Are you seeing it? If you're seeing what I'm seeing the dollar going down, the digital rising. I'm saying what is causing the dollar to go down is the same thing the prophecy said. The dollar goes down because they start selling oil in another currency, specifically gold. That's what we've been talking about since 2010. Okay, not a surprise. But here it is. So it says Iran will soon join the new development bank. What's that? A lender established by the BRICS group of nations. What does that mean? Iran remains under sweeping U.S. international sanctions. What's a sanction? It means that you can't use the dollar for buying and selling your gold. So up to this point, they've been buying and selling using yuan. But maybe it starts switching to gold, like the prophecy says. International sanctions has yet to reach a peace deal, but peace will destroy many, to end the current conflict with U.S. and Israel, giving Tehran added incentive to seek alternative financial channels outside the dollar system. Do you see gold? Do you see the prophecy starting to come to pass? You know, Shane Warren was told this way back in 2010. He spoke to us in 2012. And now here it is in 2026. It appears, I'm just going to say this. My guess, that's just a guess, God has not told me, but I'd say it's a very good guess. We could see the digital currency, the Clarity Act passed, and the death of the dollar this year, or at least the legs pulled out from under the dollar, where the dollar begins its fall this year. Goes on to say the bank that was set up by Brazil. This is the very first bank. This is with the bank having to do with the BRICS. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. Then the UAE jumped on, in Egypt, but now Iran is about to jump on. They say it's the most important result of cooperation among BRICS member countries is the establishment of a new development bank. What's that? You could change that to say a new digital currency bank. And our country will soon become a member of this bank. Are you seeing What I'm seeing, the death of the dollar, the rise of the digital currency because they're selling oil for gold, just like we've been saying since 2012. The article goes on to say BRICS members have sought to reduce reliance on the U.S. dollar, by promoting trade and financial transactions in national currencies. And they're seeking bilateral and trilateral monetary cooperation with their members. Uzbekistan just became the 10th member to join the BRICS. So there it is. Now, if you'll notice, this article came out in 2025. Okay, so is it going to be fulfilled in 26? Very possibly. This article is talking about a BRICS Bank Note that was unveiled, represents the doom for the mighty dollar. There it is. I've got it behind me, too. Specific purpose is trading an alternative method of conducting international trade around the dollar, killing the dollar. This is designed to kill the dollar. It's been a method of settling international trade for almost 100 years. But now the dollar is about to die. You see, the United States has been overspending at the national government level, now racked up $337.5 trillion in debt. What is backing this currency? Nothing. And that's what the prophecy said. These BRICS countries, these Arab nations see that the dollar has no backing. All they have to do is start selling oil for gold, and the dollar will collapse, like they apparently just started. The U.S. government racking up debt so fast that faith in the dollar is waning. No surprise, the U.S. government started using the dollar as a weapon. You can do this and you can't do that, but if you don't bend to what we want, then you can't use our dollar. Well, that was pretty good until they decided to start going around it. Now, all oil sales in the world had to be settled in the U.S. dollars, thanks to an agreement way back in the 70s, but that agreement has expired. Now, trillions of dollars ended up being held in various central banks around the world, so trade could go on unimpeded, and that's very important. Got to have the trade. And if we can't do it in dollars, we'll do it in gold. And that may be what this is happening. So you might by the way, look at the bottom there. Take just a second and look at that. See, that is the spiral. If you look carefully at those words, those letters in a spiral down there on the bottom, right in the very center, that is the spiral. Cover stone. I read this several times. I think it's very powerful. Back in 2020. Now, this is when nobody was thinking about this happening. He said, I saw the dollar bill the size of a flag hanging on a flagpole. I think there's 3 people saw the same thing. Burning on one corner, it was being lowered like a flag lowered at the end of day. People had their hands over their hearts, were crying because the god of money was being lowered. The dollar had lost its value and was burning only until about a third of it is left. Could it be this is about to be fulfilled? Could it be it's going to happen, let's say September, October, somewhere in there? To the protesters, the death of the dollar was a celebration. The communists want to see it die. Many people were celebrating while others were devastated and totally torn up by the death of the dollar. The value of the American dollar was dying. Then I heard someone playing taps in the background. That's what you play when someone dies. Jump to Charles Turner, 2021. This is the summarized vision. I had a vision. I was in the room. I heard a loud rumbling under my feet, rolling behind me. Is that the earthquake that several people have been shown? On the wall in front of me began to appear numbers. The numbers were being calculated. They contained algebra and geometry. I saw cash dropping into an abyss-type place. There was no end to it. Cash was disappearing into darkness. I saw dollars begin fading on each side to the point where you couldn't even see the numbers on the bills, but the numbers continued to fade away, meaning the dollar is going away. I was made to know that the dollar is going away in a cashless system of digital dollars fomented by the Clarity Act that's about to be voted on. I heard the Lord say, digital. I said, oh my God, the cash is fading away, and digital is coming in as the new domain or the new currency. Remember this one back 24, Brandon Biggs? I was praying and I saw a flagpole with a $100 bill flying as it were a flag. I saw it change to a digital code. It was digital like a crypto writing on it. The dollar is about to turn to a digital dollar, and it will be worth half what it is now. He showed me all banks seized the money inside them. It was like a bail-in. In other words, apparently, when this digital currency comes out, at least a Russian article said, that Trump is going to use it to do away with our $37 trillion in debt and throw that on the rest of the world's back. And all of this would be apparently the banks, which are not owned and controlled by America or Trump, but they are the deep state or the Molochs. So apparently what he's saying is they just decide to keep all the money in them. Well, that sounds about right, doesn't it? I saw all the money being seized inside the banks. The dollar collapsed, lost their homes, their cars, everything else. You can pause and read this. I'm running out of time. The people were still dressed in nice clothes. There was no food in the stores. A mile long. You can pause and read it. I've run out of time. Pause and read it. Pause and read it. Pause and read it. Okay, so you want to pause and read that too, but I'm out of time. But this is where the young 11-year-old saw like not a cell phone, but it was like a cell phone that was used to buy and sell everything. Checkbook, all but digital, like an iPad, not a cell phone, and it was only used for buying and selling, just a digital currency. Coverstone dream, and this one he saw that pennies will go away. Well, in 2020, nobody was talking about the pennies go away, but today, pennies are gone. You've probably seen the signs in the stores that said the penny is no more, and they just round it up or round it down. So there are no more pennies. No more. I don't know. I don't recall getting any in my hands here lately, so I don't know where that is. 5 shock waves summarized are very important. I'd recommend you pause and read that too, but let me get to the point here. So I'm asking you to hold off on getting gold and silver until we get a new gold and silver sponsor. Now that's if you can. I can't give financial advice, and it may be that's not a good thing. But if you can, then hopefully we can get a new sponsor here in the next few days. And if God has blessed you, we could certainly use your help right now. It's tough because it's summer. We've lost all 3 of our sponsors, but the day is going to come when the masses will turn and listen to us. The day is going to come when we're in sports stadiums. We found oil in Israel, and there's a lot of people listening. There's a lot of people turning to Jesus. I look forward to those days. I don't look forward to the judgment that brings them. So this is a book called Miss the Mark, and this one is a very simple book. Takes you probably 2 hours to read through it. It is designed to be handed to someone that is not necessarily a Christian, maybe even a teenager, because if they'll read a few pages of it, they will probably finish the book. And if they finish the book, they will understand the mark of the beast. It shows them what the mark of the beast looks like, and they will never take the mark of the beast, and they'll probably get saved. 1 for $20, don't do that. We offer them a shrink wrap set of 10 for $35. Then my newest book, Pentecost Rapture of the Bride. If you want to understand the timing of the rapture, and I'll just tell you, it's what you call pre-wrath. It's about 4 months before Armageddon. Then this is the book. And it lays it out once again. This is simple. This is about a 3-hour read. Not complicated at all. But once you read it, you'll slap your forehead and say, of course. I don't know why I didn't see this before. It has to be this way. This is the truth. No matter whether you or someone else is pre-trib, post-trib, whatever they are, when they read this book, they will understand the truth about the rapture. Essentially, it explains that the Feast of Pentecost is the marriage feast. And so the first marriage, Moses, the children of Israel, married God at Mount Sinai. The second marriage in the upper room, when the Holy Spirit came in and tongues of fire set upon people. The final marriage is when we get taken to the marriage supper of the Lamb on the last rapture. You'll see that. It's easy. 1 for $20, don't do that. Shrink wrap set of 10 for $35. Then what I call the granddaddy book, this is the one where I was shown the secret door. that puts the prophecies of Revelation into the correct chronological order based upon the feasts. When you see this, you can say, of course, God showed him how it really works. 1 for 20, shrink wrap set of 5 for 35. But you can right now get 5 of the Secret Door and 10 of the Pentecost, 15 books for a gift of $50 at prophecyclub.com. Prophecyclub.com has the best offer we've ever offered, where you get all 5 of my books, total of 40 books, at prophecyclub.com for $800, valued at $800, for $100. Also, if you are a prophecy student and you're in the DFW area, or especially if you live in the DFW area, let me invite you to come by our church and visit. I think you'll like it, especially if you're a prophecy student and you see the address there. If God has blessed you and you can help Prophecy Club, now would be a really, really good time, because it's summertime and it's always the toughest time of the year. Our donations pretty much stop during this year for the time of the year, so if you can help us, now would be a really good time. We'd really appreciate it.